debating, going toe to toe. No holding back, I'm speaking the facts. Let me introduce you to the dopest show. NerdyD and Milwaukee Mike, bringing the energy. If you a fan of wrestling, and especially WWE, this is the Casual Wrestling Show. Casual Wrestling Show. We got opinions, we letting them know. Casual Wrestling Show. Hey, ain't no holding back.
What's up, guys? This is the Casual Wrestling Community Show. I am one of your hosts, the Notorious NerdyD, alongside my co-host, Milwaukee Mike. And tonight, we have a very special guest, Milwaukee Mike's very own brother, Miles. What's up, man? What's going on? Gentlemen, we are 18 days away from WrestleMania, so it's only fitting that we take this episode to really kind of focus in on the main event of WrestleMania, especially seeing that you guys are going to be there. So tonight, we're going to talk about The Rock's role at WrestleMania, the legacy of Cody Rhodes, and the mystery of the match order. But before we do that, let's start the clock. 35 minutes so we could break it down for the casuals. All right, what's the first question this week?
So the first question we got is, do you think that WWE has ruined the mystique of Cody Rhodes?
Who you want to jump in first, Mike? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can go first. So with me, I don't necessarily think that they've ruined the mystique of Cody Rhodes. I think what we have now with Cody Rhodes is more of a copycat John Cena moving forward, if that makes any sense. I think he's kind of more of the babyface guy that you kind of put the company on his back and he can kind of ride it out. I don't think the fans are ever going to really turn on him unless he goes heel, which who knows down the line if that's going to actually happen or not. But in terms of like what's happened so far to this point, I think they've really done a good job with making us stay on track with his story and seeing what's going on with his story and seeing if it's actually going to finish this year at WrestleMania. So on my end, I don't think it's necessarily been ruined. I think we could be walking towards it possibly being ruined depending on the results at WrestleMania this year. But as of right now, I don't necessarily think that his mystique has been ruined.
So, yeah, I think that we got to kind of define. I don't even know what is the mystique of Cody Rhodes, right? Is he a savior? Was he supposed to return from AEW to save us? Is he the underdog, or is he just kind of the superstar who defies all the odds to win his first ever world title? I think that this whole Rock and Roman situation, that's the best thing that's ever happened to Cody Rhodes. So I don't think it's ruining him. I actually think this is building him up to be something probably that he wasn't going to be. We were headed down a pretty predictable path where I think that it was just going to be line Cody up across from Roman week after week and let them, insult each other and then get to WrestleMania and finish the story. I think adding The Rock has kind of ultimately led to this what's next situation that we didn't have before. Introducing The Rock and calling him, like openly calling him the final boss, that's a brilliant twist on this story of Cody Rhodes. I think when we look back, like at the last 4 years, at the reign of Roman Reigns, we'll see now how brilliantly this was used to effectively pass the torch to, like you said, the new John Cena, the new baby face of the company. Because ultimately, the biggest concern I have for Cody is once he wins the title, which he ultimately is going to win the title, what do you do next? You immediately face the problem of how do you keep him interesting? You could throw Rollins at him. You can put him in the ring with CM Punk, but you have this ultimate boss, this final boss storyline looming with The Rock that I think has just kind of fallen into our lap. The problem I have with the IWC and with a lot of wrestling fans in general is that they want guys like Cody to fit neatly into a comparison with someone before. And I think Cody kind of walks a strange line of, he does have some John Cena, but he has a lot of elements that are unique to himself. And then you get these IWC who say, well, the minute Roman Reigns loses the title, WWE's done. It's not going to be interesting. But let's give Cody Rhodes a chance to create the mystique of Cody Rhodes and see what that actually looks like when he wins a title. I'm less worried about the mystique of Cody Rhodes and more worried about kind of the mystique of the WWE. I think there's a little bit of an identity crisis right now with there's this story going around that they had a memo passed around that WWE needs to stay PG. We got to keep, the promos PG. But then you have The Rock who's cutting these high-level promos. You have Cody, who came out yesterday, cut a high-level promo, and it worries me that they're going to let Cody Rhodes for the next 3 weeks be this version of Cody Rhodes where he can be a little more edgy, and then as soon as he wins the title at WrestleMania, they're going to cut that off and go, all right, you've got to return to PG, kind of by the book Cody Rhodes. And I think we may just now be seeing this new version of Cody Rhodes. So I don't think they're ruining the mystique. I think, like you said, they have the possibility to kind of cut Cody loose and let him become something. But if he loses at WrestleMania, ultimately, I think it's kind of over for him.
Right. And I mean, I'll just butt in. Just to preface, I'm a football player.
Okay.
I watch WWE on the side. I like to say I have a pretty good opinion, but in my opinion, I'm a Roman Reigns fan, right? So when I look at Cody Rhodes, maybe it's a little different from the Cody crybabies out there, right? So in my opinion, what I told Mike before was, what happens when Cody wins this title, right? Like, we've built him up to be this rebellious character who's going to take down the bloodline with some of his friends or Seth Rollins or whoever we may see at WrestleMania. And then now he finishes the story. And now what? I feel like WWE has made him into the story and an entrance, right? Like, is there levels to Cody Rhodes? Like, maybe Monday night we kind of saw a little bit more of it, but in the past, where are the levels to Cody Rhodes? I feel like him winning back-to-back Rumbles, he's been the front runner this whole time since he's been back. He got injured, but then he came back, won the Rumble right away. Like, he's had some adversity, but I think he needs a little bit more adversity for him to really start to expose those levels of Cody Rhodes. So that's why I'm on Team Roman for this WrestleMania.
So where do you find that adversity? That's the question, right? I think them labeling The Rock the final boss is literally like the Avengers in-game formula, right? Like, Roman has been our Thanos for the last 4 years, but ultimately, like, there always is this weird mistake. Like, there's another bad guy behind him who we didn't see coming, lurking in the shadows. I think that's going to be The Rock. That's kind of what I see coming from that, which kind of leads us into the second question we had here is, do you guys believe Roman Reigns should retain his Universal Championship at WrestleMania?
So for me personally, I think that either way that you cut it, we can go, there's two different paths, right? So if he retains, my question is, what happens next in terms of the WWE as a whole, right? Because you're essentially still taking a title away from other talents and other stories being told. I think the bloodline as a whole is a complete story of itself, and it doesn't necessarily need a title to continue. I think we have other family members that can make, come through. I think obviously we're still missing Roman versus The Rock at some point. So I don't necessarily know that you need to have a title slapped to it, but I can also see the flip side as to continuing to make Cody chase his story. Now, that becomes a situation now where you question the fan involvement, the fan commitment to continuing to follow the story as he continues to finish it, whenever that may be. I think the obvious, most blatant answer would be for him to finish it at WrestleMania 40, so we can kind of keep things moving. But listen, man, I'm seeing the IWC now kind of flip and say, hey, I wouldn't mind if it goes either way. So for me, I don't think that he necessarily has to retain at WrestleMania, but I can understand if he did.
So I'm going to tell you guys, this is my truth. There's zero reason for Roman Reigns to retain. And like, we can get behind The Rock, we can get behind Roman, but like, from a company standpoint, WWE has already laid the cards on the table for us. They've already moved on from Roman Reigns. It might be subliminal, but this story has become Cody Rhodes and The Rock. They've gotten more face time in the ring than we've seen Cody and The Rock. The Rock labeling himself final boss immediately discredited the last 4 years of Roman Reigns. That insinuates that while Roman Reigns might be champion, the ultimate guy that Cody has to get through is going to be Diarrhea Dwayne. That's who he has to get through. I think The Rock has taken a liking to being back in WWE. I think that he came back, he got to be a bad guy, and he goes, oh shit, this This is fun. I think Hollywood's kind of taken a little bit of a shit on The Rock lately. Like, you had Black Adam and a couple things not go the way he absolutely wanted to, and he's not the biggest thing in Hollywood. He comes back to WWE, and he's the biggest thing in WWE. And so I think he sees this as his ultimate kind of villain role. And WWE has been missing this overarching villain for a long time. We haven't had a Vince McMahon, somebody who can be an authority figure and just kind of mess with whoever the babyface is. So I see the what's next for Cody Rhodes. I see that as being The Rock. And I think Roman is the guy who kind of loses in this whole situation. I don't see any possibility of Roman Reigns winning at WrestleMania. I think that there's the inevitability in every story of good and evil where the hero has to prevail at some point. And if you're going to have Cody Rhodes, the hero prevail, it has to be at your big show. I don't think we can wait anymore. I don't think we can wait till Madison Square Garden. I don't think we can wait till SummerSlam. I think that when you're building up that epic moment, it has to be, you've labeled this WrestleMania XL, the biggest WrestleMania of all time. You have to make the transition here from evil to good. Like I said in the last topic, this is the Avengers. This has to be where Thanos goes down. This is where we lose Roman Reigns, and this is going to be the emergence of The Rock as the new big bad guy in WWE. And I don't care what people are saying about The Rock having movies to film. As long as The Rock is invested into TKO and part of the board of directors, he's in WWE now. He can take 3 months and come back. The cool thing about being in the bloodline, and I don't think the bloodline dissolves after WrestleMania. I think it just looks very differently. I think that if Jimmy loses like we think he might, and Roman loses like we think he might, The Rock just kind of fills that power void, and Paul Heyman latches onto The Rock. And now The Rock can go away for 3 months and Paul Heyman becomes his mouthpiece. So ultimately, I think Roman Reigns is losing his title at WrestleMania because, like you said, this isn't the end. We are going to build to this power vacuum of The Rock, taking over the bloodline, and how does Roman deal with that, ultimately leading to probably Roman versus Rock next year at WrestleMania.
And like I say, I'm a big pusher of the long-term booking, right? And I think back to the promo that Paul Heyman had cut, I can't remember if it was this past summer or just within the past year, where he's talking about the tribal chief and the status of the tribal chief, and him stating that there is no tribal chief without the title. The title makes you the tribal chief. And, we're talking about this impending match between Roman and The Rock, right? And we all state that this is for the status of who is the tribal chief. So how do we have this tribal chief match without the titles, right? And we can take it off Roman. I mean, we get Roman here and there on SmackDown every once in a while. Now what is a non-champion Roman? What do we get with a non-champion Roman? Are we seeing him every once a month maybe? Like, how do we keep this bloodline story moving without a title on maybe the greatest champion in the modern era? So I think back to that Paul Heyman promo, and I just think, how do we get to this impending match without the title? And then obviously, how do we keep this bloodline story going?
So in my head, the way this works, because I've thought about this, is that after Roman loses, he disappears. He's gone. 3 or 4 months, we don't hear from him, and The Rock takes over the bloodline. On a weekly basis, it's The Rock and Paul Heyman trying to piece back together what's left of the bloodline. See, I think at WrestleMania, we're going to see a bunch of new Samoans. There's going to be a bunch of new characters introduced, and this bloodline thing is going to continue on. I think what people are kind of missing here is there were always rumblings of turning Roman back to babyface. And the best way to do that is to have The Rock assume the heel role. Roman goes away and Roman returns to kind of retake head of the table. You ask, without the title, I understand that. Is there a world where Cody has the title 6 months and The Rock takes it off of Cody, becoming the biggest heel in the world? And we go into next year's WrestleMania with The Rock as the champion, and Roman has to conquer. It's now Roman's story to win back that title at next year's WrestleMania. That's the weird things that spin in my mind on how you give Roman time to cool off, and you bring him back, and you can bring him back as a babyface in the match. Because ultimately, Rock versus Roman, someone has to be babyface. And I think we just always assume it's going to be The Rock as babyface, but I think The Rock is the better heel. Like, The Rock has shown these last 2 or 3 weeks, he's the best in the business. Like, we can have GOAT conversations and we can be like funny and go, Roman's the GOAT. No. When The Rock gets in the ring and he grabs a microphone, he's the best in the business. Like, there's nobody close. That's
interesting. I didn't think about it that way. Now you got my wheels spinning on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just, to me, I don't know. I feel like you said, long-term booking. There's something going on here. Paul Heyman has started to kind of position himself with The Rock. Jimmy's at the ultimate Jimmy. Like, Jimmy's the best Jimmy we've had ever. I don't think you need Jay there to have a bloodline. If a couple more Samoans show up, we've got a new bloodline, and we could run this thing for a whole nother year. Which leads us to our third question of the night is, and this is kind of what we've been talking about. Do you guys believe that The Rock will turn on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania?
I think for me, I'm going to say no, because I think it is a little bit too soon for that to happen. I think there's still some more story to be told. And I think if you make the turn now, I think that's kind of hitting the panic button and breaking the glass and trying to, move this thing and keep people invested without necessarily really thinking about, like we've been talking about, the long-term story of this whole thing. So I don't necessarily see it happening. I could see some animosity being created at WrestleMania between The Rock, Roman, and the whole bloodline. I don't necessarily see The Rock costing Roman the match on Sunday, but I could see something happening where it's not intentional, but it does make something happen within the match that costs Roman the match. So, all in all, I don't think the turn happens yet. I think with the impending on the internet, we've seen that Rock is going to be gone from May until I think it was August. I think with that being in consideration, I don't think you can necessarily have the turn quite yet, because you want to see a consistent story be told. So for me, I don't think a turn happening at WrestleMania.
Before I get into my point, I want to talk. You said The Rock being gone from May to August. That's an assumption, right? Because the reality the reality is guys like Pat McAfee make it work. The Rock could be filming a movie and not be physical in the ring and continue to show up.
Sure.
Right? I mean, we're under that belief. Right. Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I think it's way too soon to have the turn happen. I'll double up down on what you said, as I think the way that match ends, it's going to be chaos, right? I'm going to keep going back to my well here of Avengers, because this feels like they're ripping a page out of the book. I think everybody's going to be out there. KO, Sammy, Jay, Seth, The Rock, Jimmy, everybody. There's going to be Samoans we've never seen before. This is going to be like, I'm telling you, there's going to be bodies everywhere. This is going to be epic. And I think what ultimately is going to happen is this match is going to end with bodies laying around the ring. It leaves Cody and Roman in the ring together, and The Rock will have the opportunity to help Roman, and he won't. He'll just stand to the side and let the match play out and let it finish. And like you said, I don't think it'll be a turn, but it's going to leave this door open for why didn't he save Roman? Why didn't he help Roman? Like I said, I think we assume Jimmy loses his match to Jay, because Jay's a superstar on the rise. I'm assuming, I don't know how you guys feel. I think at this point, Rock and Roman win the tag match.
Yeah. No doubt.
Because you don't tease a bloodline rules match and then take that away from people. The main event of WrestleMania is going to be chaos. It's going to be bloodline rules. So like I said, the bloodline comes out of this thing kind of in disarray. I think The Rock could show up the Monday after Raw. That could be Roman's last appearance, where he comes out and he questions The Rock on, like, why didn't you help me? Why weren't you there? I don't know. This blood family thing is broken. We no longer are one bloodline. I mean, it could even create two different bloodlines. I don't know. I honestly think that at WrestleMania 41, that's where you do Rock and Roman. I don't think that you have to turn right now. I think the optics coming out of WrestleMania 40 need to purely be the celebration of Cody Rhodes. Let's not overshadow this, because if Cody wins, he's holding the title, and then boom, there's a turn after that. That's the conversation leaving WrestleMania. Whereas I think, like I said, you leave it kind of ambiguous. Rock could have helped out, but the optics coming out of WrestleMania 40, to me, I believe, have to be about Cody Rhodes and the victory, and all of the imagery needs to be Cody celebrating the end of the story.
Right. I guess, lastly, my whole thing is there hasn't been a lot of animosity between The Rock and Roman yet, right? Like, all we've gotten so far is, Roman saying, acknowledge me, right? That's the only thing we've got so far. So you can't really take that large step from, not a lot of animosity to a complete turn, right? And I don't think WWE has ever been one to really do anything like that. So to flip my stance, so say Cody is the victor, right? My opinion is if Cody wins, the reason Roman needs to lose needs to be Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. It needs to be one of those two people cost him the match, because I think that they've been such big reasons in his wins the last 3 years, and with Solo the last year and a half, so that one of them needs to be the reason, because now you can build to why does Solo make this turn? Why does Paul turn against Roman? Is Paul now with The Rock? Is somebody else looming in the background where, Heyman is now with Punk, or, talk about Brock Lesnar's back, or whoever it is, Braun Breaker, whoever it is. So I think one of those two has to be the reason that Roman, if he does lose, the reason that he loses.
Let me pose this question then. Is it more beneficial to protect Roman Reigns in this match with a reason like somebody getting involved and costing him the match? Or is this a more pivotal moment for Cody Rhodes to let him actually win clean? To it ending up just Cody and Roman in that ring and Cody getting the best? Because it's been forever since somebody just bested Roman Reigns. Are you guys under the belief that WrestleMania ends and it's still kind of a question mark of, like, as long as somebody's, involved in the ring, that's what causes the loss?
It's a good question. I think for me, listening to that question, you are right, because it seems like every Roman match has had interference and some kind of a form or reason for him to end up winning. So if you have a Bloodline Rules match, it's assumed that that's already going to happen. So then that would make Cody winning, I think, that much more significant, because that would mean that he got past everything that was already predictable. So yeah, that is a good question. It's something I would have to ponder and really think about as we move towards that.
I guess I'd say that it has to be on script with the Bloodline. Like, nothing's clean with the Bloodline, right? These are your like mafia of the WWE, right? So I feel like for Cody to win clean, now what do we do to the Bloodline story? Because if he wins clean, now we got nothing, right? Like, Roman got pinned 1, 2, 3. There's no interference and Cody getting the pin, and now Roman just lost clean. Now where do we go, right? And you're talking about, Roman taking a step away from WWE. I feel like if he takes a step away, why not keep him strong? Why not give him a reason why he lost, instead of just being like, oh, Roman is now, the weaker link and Cody bested him?
I think the argument I would make there is casual fans don't remember. If someone steps away for 3 months, they don't remember what happened. They're just excited someone's back. You saw it with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was on like a 2.5-year losing streak where he didn't have a title or something like that. And now casual fans will tell you he's the best wrestler in the world. That's the only argument I would make for that. My argument is if you're going to put the company on Cody Rhodes' back, I feel like it has to be clean. You can always have Roman get his get back at some point. I think it has to be clean. I like and see where you're going. For me, we talk about the mystique of Cody Rhodes. It's got to be Cody and Roman standing in that ring, final moment. Everybody else is laying down, beaten, bloody, on the side of the ring. And there's nobody, like, I think the story has to be, there's no one left to help Roman. Maybe The Rock, and The Rock's just like, all right, you're on your own. And Cody finishes it. To me, that's the movie script. That's I always look at WrestleMania as it's the last chapter of this kind of saga. Now, if they decide to keep running it and keep going, then the way you do it is exactly like you said. You have Solo or somebody get involved, and now you've got 10 new storylines you can work off of. So I can see it either way. Yeah. All right, so last question I have for you guys. Both of you are going to WrestleMania Night 2. Y'all are getting to see all of this happen live. Yep. I had a thought kind of go through my head, because in years past, I think by now, we've had a little bit of an idea what the card looks like on each night, but seemingly the only thing we know right now is Cody Roman Night 2, tag match Night 1, right? They have not announced anything else as placement?
Drew and Seth are Night 2.
And the U.S. title match.
And the U.S. title's Night 2.
So they have announced those. I've just missed that.
A couple, yeah. But it's not a full card yet.
Okay.
Right.
So how do you feel about that as somebody who bought tickets? Like, you're going into the night seemingly blind.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I'm trying to think back to last year. I don't know. Did they wait kind of the same amount of time last year to kind of cement the card? I can't remember.
I don't remember exactly. I feel like, and I don't know about last year, but the year before that, I know when I went, that I felt like I had a pretty good idea because I was able to tell my kids, like, here's who you're going to see, here's who you're not going to see. Because that's where I'm kind of coming at this from, is like, let's say you're a parent. That ticket is expensive. And if your kid wants to see Bianca Belair, you're like, holy shit, I'm rolling the dice here. If I go Night 1 and Bianca's Night 2, I'm dead to my kid, right? Like, as I think as adults, we understand that we're going to get a good card no matter what. But like, sometimes kids are hyper focused on one or two people.
Yeah, I think for me, it is kind of weird because as you know, we purchased tickets for Night 2. Obviously, assumption was that Cody Roman is going to be Night 2. I mean, that's just a given. But then you also wonder, like, you're also wondering, okay, what else did I spend my money on?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want just a bunch of nonsense before that. So it would be nice to know ahead of time, but I do think that the injury problem that they had leading up to Mania definitely shuffled some of their plans. And I think we're just now getting a couple matches cemented, and it's only 2 weeks away. So I don't necessarily know that they even know quite yet what they're going to put on each night.
I think you're right about that. I think that's probably the realistic picture, is that they don't have a clear idea. They're looking at this and going, oh shit, a lot of people are getting behind Gunther. Let's leverage that against, this person. We still don't even know if Jade Cargill's on the card, right? And that's a big like poker chip that you can put down, that if one night feels a little better than the other. I think you're right. And like, you knew you're getting the big show. You're getting the money's match is going, that last match is going to be epic. I'm going to go on record saying Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 2 is going to be the best match in WWE of all time. I believe that's going to be that. Like, when you look back at it, bigger than Rock and Hulk Hogan, bigger than everything, that's going to be the best we ever see as fans. So you get your money's worth. But yeah, it's hard. Like, that ladder match is going to be good. The tag ladder match is going to be good. Where does that fall? Where's Logan on the card? What?
I guess I'd say, like, how do you leverage both nights? Like, obviously you're getting, your two main events, right? Like, that we get the U.S. title on Sunday, so we're probably getting IC on Saturday, right? And you're getting, like, it's hard to say in frame where each match is gonna go, but there's probably 2 or 3 more matches that haven't even been announced yet. So it's like, where do those matches go? What stipulations do those matches have? Because you only have 2 weeks to build. And, the obvious would be like Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, like, what stipulation do they put on this LA Knight AJ Styles match? Like, how does that leverage where that match goes? Does that go on Sunday because there is no stipulation, versus if it had a stipulation, does it go on Saturday? Like, there's so many details to it.
Yeah, I think more than ever to me, and I don't know if it's just I'm paying attention more, there's not one match that I'm like, like, not something that's thrown together. Everything feels like it has a reason. Even like the Sami Zayn Gunther with Gable lurking in the background, that's all super interesting to me. Like, I don't know what's happening there. Does Gable turn? Does Gable go heel? So much, like, his kid's still crying, Mike. This little girl's still crying.
Yeah, man. I like I told you, I think maybe last week or the week before that, I think this Mania, the build and the storylines have been more entertaining than previous Manias because I think there's meaning and purpose behind each match that's been announced so far. Like, it's not just let's throw this on the wall and see what sticks. It's okay. Sammy has a story. Gunther is the longest IC champion. Gable has a story as well. Let's kind of play that out, right? The Bailey EO situation. Damage Control creator got kicked out. I mean, you can go to each match and there's some kind of storyline behind it that's really making this Mania seem like it's gonna be one of the biggest ever.
And we equate that to Triple H, right? Like, this is definitely like the new Triple H style of booking.
This is his exclamation point, I feel.
I think you're right about that. I think the Damage Control stuff, that stuff I forgot about too. That stuff's been super interesting. Where does that go with Dakota Kai? And there's so many, I think you're right. There's so many angles to each story now. It's not just, hey, I don't like you, you don't like me, get in the ring. There's levels to what's going on. That's interesting. I never thought of it like that.
I guess I posed the last question. With the LA Knight AJ Styles match, do you believe that needs a stipulation? Because do you think that's a match where they can just go one-on-one just because of the nature of how this feud kind of started? And usually, we get a Hell in a Cell match at Mania every so often, or it's just, how do you play that?
I think it has to have a stipulation. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, 6 months ago, I was the biggest LA Knight person. I probably don't. That's the least I'm excited I am for a match. Like, what stipulation do you give it, though?
I feel like there's got to be something with this chair.
Yeah.
Right? So a chairs match?
Well, I think you equate the chair and then AJ kind of ducking LA.
Yeah.
It would make maybe a cage match.
Hell in a Cell.
Or I can see that.
Hell in a Cell makes sense. Hell in a Cell's tough, isn't it? At an outdoor arena, a stadium.
They've done it out there before.
Oh, have they really?
Because the WrestleMania in Tampa during COVID, I went to that.
Okay.
They had a cage match there, and they had the cage hanging above the ring. So I can assume that
they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Ambulance match? You could do an ambulance match because of the video game.
That's true.
Someone leaves because they got beat up by a chair.
Yeah.
I do think it needs a stipulation because I don't have, like, other than AJ Styles flying across the world to cost LA Knight the match, that's probably got the least amount of build up for a match with the guy who, like I said 6 months ago, was my favorite wrestler on the roster. Yeah. Have y'all seen the IWC kind of laying into the LA Knight can't be LA Knight because The Rock's back?
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
They'll talk what they want, though.
I agree.
We know this at this point.
Y'all got anything else?
Yeah, so I think we have an announcement, right?
That's right. Yes, we do. I almost glossed right over that. Do your thing.
Yeah, so we are going to be giving away 2 tickets to NXT Stand and Deliver in Philadelphia. The way we're going to do that is we're going to have sort of a contest. We're going to clip a video and we're going to put that on TikTok.
Okay.
And we're going to have our followers comment hashtag casual wrestling SAD for Stand and Deliver. And then we want you to give us the year in which NXT started. So hashtag casual wrestling SAD, the year that NXT started. And then this Friday, we're going to go through, we're going to get everybody that got the question right, put the names in a little hat, pick out a winner, and then we'll DM you with the details and with the tickets. So I think that's the way we're going to go about it.
That's awesome. I could not be part of this contest because I have no clue what year NXT started. I'm already disqualified. I don't know. I have no idea. That's out of my wheelhouse. But that's cool. All right. So hashtag What'd you say?
Casual Wrestling SAD.
SAD. And then you guys have an opportunity to win Stand and Deliver tickets for, that is April 5th, correct?
I think it's the 6th.
6th. So
Yeah,
6th, 7th, and 8th.
Saturday.
You're right. Okay.
Yep.
Wait. Yes. Okay, I'm off. SmackDown's 5th.
No, you're good.
SmackDown's 5th.
SmackDown's 5th.
NXT. Okay. So they do NXT and WrestleMania on the same day?
Yeah, so it's in like the early afternoon.
Ooh, that's a long day if you try to do both.
It's a long day. It's a long day.
That's all the time we have this week for the Casual Wrestling Show. Make sure to like and share this episode as much as you can. As a member of the Casual Wrestling community, feel free to screen record and clip your favorite part of the show on any social media platform. As always, I am NerdyD. That's Milwaukee Mike. That's Miles. We will see you guys next week.
Better bring it if we debating going toe to toe. No holding back, I'm speaking the facts. Let me introduce you to the dopest show. NerdyD and Milwaukee Mike, bringing the energy. If you a fan of wrestling and especially WWE, this is the